Welcome to Rich on the Road Across America.
Hey there, and thanks for joining me for the fourth installment of Lucille's Wintertime Tune-Up. Here's the list of the 10 items we're going to be doing this winter. We've already done the coolant, the clutch plates, the exhaust crush rings, and today we're replacing the front and rear brake pads. I'm going to be using Honda OEM parts. Here's the front brake pads. There's the part number. There's a left and a right hand side for the front disc brakes of this bike. And here's the rear brake pads. There's the part number. There's only one set of rear brake pads. They're on the right hand side because on the left hand side of a VTX is the shaft drive. So let's get started taking the old parts off and then we'll install the new parts. In case you're wondering where we are, we're underneath the front end of the bike. This is the front brake caliper on the right hand side. We're going to be using a pretty broad bladed flathead screwdriver to get up underneath the caliper. So the brake caliper is right here, not the brake pad, but the caliper. And you just kind of get in here and pushing them back a little bit just to get them out of the way. You can now see there's clearance right in here. Once that's done, we're going to remove a pin that drops the pads out. Behind this little rubber grommet is a 5mm pin. We're going to take the rubber out with this pick. Take the 5mm Allen head, back it out. That's the only thing that's holding the pad into the assembly. There's my little rubber stopper. 5mm bolt. There we go. Pin is out. You can see both brake pads come right out. That's all there is to it. I mean, that's a really simple removal. They're really not that low. You see the height right there, the height of the pad right here. It's not that bad, but I'm still happy to replace them and get new fresh pads on here. This is the new set of pads. They'll fit up in here just like this. There's my pin that came out. It's gonna go through this hole. Only thing you gotta really make sure of is this little tab is actually up into the housing, into a little void right there, so it fits up in there correctly and straight. And then we'll put the pin in. We're gonna put a pad on the back side, or inside, and a second pad on the outside, and they will squeeze on the disc. Now while I've got this off, and you can do this without taking the brake pads off, but periodically inspect the disc to make sure there's no grooves or any kind of damage to it, either on the inside or outside. I keep an eye on this regularly, and I don't really have any concerns, so we're gonna go ahead and put the pads on. So let's slide this inside pad up in here. Getting behind the disc, slide it up and in. Like I said, I'm with my fingers making sure that I'm getting the upper tab up in the spot where it needs to be. There we go. Both pads are up in that little notch. Up top is a little spring-loaded piece of metal. Now I'm gonna put my pin back in, going through the front for inner and outer. Take my 5mm Allen wrench, start working back in. I'm just going to finger tighten. My Honda service manual says that this should be 13 foot-pounds. So I've got my torque wrench set up for 13. We're going to tighten this down. After that, we'll take our little rubber stopper, make sure it's back in there really good, tight. And that takes care of side one. We're on the left side of the bike and we're just going to do the exact same process in reverse. I do notice that the little rubber stopper is missing on this side for some reason, so don't have to remove that. Take our 5mm wrench and break this pin loose. Old pads are out. I'm just making sure my calipers are compressed. Slide up over the back side, making sure that tab goes into the top. I'll hold that on while I compress this side. Take my other pad, slide it up. Making sure it's in position also. Take my pin. Thread it through. Take my 5mm, tighten it down. 13 foot-pound. There we go. One more time, do a visual inspection, make sure that my pads are aligned with the caliper housing. Do an inspection of the disc. We're at the rear of the bike, and this is the rear brake assembly. This is the rear brake caliper. I'll take my screwdriver, same as the front. The whole process is pretty much the same as the front. Get those calipers to move back and out of the way. Then I'll take my 5mm Allen head and come into the side here where the pin, this is the pin here, it goes through the assembly. This is the outer brake pad, the inner brake pad. This is the pin, and it screws into this side of the assembly. Have a little story here. When I went to take the pins out of the front brake assemblies, they were kind of hard, but they came loose. I came to the rear and used my Allen head wrench, and it snapped the head off my Allen head wrench. I ended up putting some WD-40 on this side, letting it sit and soak for a while. I covered all this assembly with paper towels so that it wouldn't get any WD-40 on the pads, on the disc, or anywhere else on here, so I didn't want to have any residue left. Let it sit and penetrate for a couple of hours. Now my Allen head will take this off. We're going to take the pin out. Remember, the pin just slides through these two brake pads and holds them in. There went the inner brake pad. I don't know if you saw it fall just then, but it slid right out. Oh, it's got a lot of life left on it. Still going to trade them out. It'd be a whole lot easier if I had my other Allen head wrench, because it would have a handle on it, spins a little easier. All right, the pin's ready to come out, and this outer brake pad will fall. And now both brake pads are out. Now we have the new brake pads. Same as before. Let's put the inner one in first. I know my hands may be blocking you here, but it's kind of hard to do the work and get a good camera angle. There we go. I like it when a process comes together like that. Everything snaps in, makes it feel really good. Now to try to get the outer one in. I looked back at my camera and it looked like maybe I didn't have a good angle, and maybe you didn't see the inner brake pad and the outer brake pad and the pin coming through. So I've repositioned my camera. Hopefully you can see it better now. I am screwing in the pin to go across the assembly. Then we'll come back and use the torque wrench. Honda specs state 13 foot-pounds, same as the front. There we go. Now we'll just put the rubber stopper back in the hole where the pin goes through. Make sure it's on there good and tight. A little bit harder to get your hands in here and to work with than the front brakes are. Really hard for me to get my hands, light, and camera all in here so you can see it all. So I don't know how well that's all going to turn out. But overall, front brakes, rear brakes, pretty much the same. Well, that finishes out step 4 of Lucille's wintertime tune-up. We've replaced the front and rear brake pads. Next time we're going to be bleeding the master cylinder for the front and rear brakes. Maybe that should have been part of this video, but people tend to like shorter videos, so we'll do that next time. Thanks for watching, and hope you stay tuned for the rest of the tune-up. See you guys.
I may be poor, but I'm rich on the road across America.
There we go. And they're tight. I think I just broke the Allen wrench. Son of a biscuit eater. That's gonna make the blooper reel.